let's get into it, lads. I wanted to ask you because we got some disappointing news that we won't be able to fly over to Orlando for the Arsenal tour. It got cancelled because of the COVID situation. So the rumblings are that one of the players have actually caught COVID. So does that mean your whole tour is over, or is it just the Florida situation, or your entire preseason's done?
Well, I don't know. Do you think? I don't even think they should be going to America at this stage of this. It's ridiculous, really. So I don't think it's a bad thing if they can pull out a couple more friendlies. But I understand that Everton are still going out there, as far as I'm aware. So I don't really know what's happening. I also haven't confirmed nothing yet. Funny enough, it's all on Sky. It's all over on the socials and that. But Arsenal haven't confirmed anything yet, so I don't know. So when Arsenal confirm something, then I'll believe it. But it's a big dent in our preparations. That's 2 games without anything. But it gives us a little bit of time to maybe get a couple of transfers over the window. I don't know.
No, I agree with Lee, but Everton are still going out to the United States. But I think the player that's staying behind is Fabian Delph. So he's come to close contact with according to Sky, he's come to close contact with someone who's contacted the virus. So it's just saying Fabian Delph will not travel to the USA for Florida Cup as he's in close contact of someone who has tested positive for coronavirus. So that's one player. So in terms of Arsenal, I don't know whether it's a group of players. They haven't really made an announcement. But in terms of to be honest, I agree with Lee. I would prefer it if we don't put like I said, our season in jeopardy and just start doing a sort of nationwide tour, which we were doing previously, or maybe just go further into Europe as well. Western Europe, where there's some games. I know it's lucrative, and I know the club. I can understand why the club's doing it because last year, they lost a lot of money because Arsenal make a lot of money from going on these sort of overseas tours in the United States, the Far East, because that's where the money is, and plus, they get TV rights as well. So it's big money. So I get it. And at the end of the day, money talks in football. But in terms of where we want to go, just do it. Wait till next year and see if we can recruit the money.
No, that's understandable, and I think it's the case. You've got to be safe. Better to be safe than sorry, because the last thing you want to do is jeopardize the beginning of the season as well. I mean, the fans, we've been waiting so long for this, and obviously the UK is just reopened as well fully. We're hearing over here, so I'm sure that's happy days for you lot. And we've got Roma right back. Hopefully he sorted out his cracking. Go on, Roma, say something.
You're still acting up.
Nah, you're good now.
I have to go and find my AirPods. You know how long I haven't found my AirPods? I have to go and find my AirPods.
Listen, we've done you a favor.
Yeah.
But yeah, we was just talking about the situation with the Orlando tour. Well, it's not officially been confirmed by Arsenal, but it's been cancelled. Unfortunately, I actually booked my ticket and my hotel this morning for that, and they cancelled it within hours after that.
So you can go and watch Everton, though. Go watch Everton.
How come they cancelled?
Huh?
How come they cancelled?
The COVID fears. But I wanted to go into obviously the up and coming season. I wanted to ask you lots opinions, just kind of like some early predictions. I know the transfer window isn't quite done yet, and there is still a little bit of business to go. But just looking towards the next season, I mean, Arsenal, in terms of you guys, what are your kind of expectations, assuming that your targets, the ones that you're going for, will come through to the club? What are your expectations for the season coming up?
Do you want me to go first, Ken? I'll go first at the moment.
No, you'll go first, mate. I'll
go first. Our expectations are the same as they were last season. If they don't sign any midfield players in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Arsenal are going to be where they were last season, languishing in around the 7th or 8th. And that's it, as simple as that. If you look at the 4 teams at this moment in time, City, Man United, Chelsea and Liverpool, they're all better than Arsenal. And I'm afraid Ben White and a young player from Anderlecht is not going to be enough to make us any stronger. So, I do expect a few more big signings in the next week or so. I do expect us to sign a creative midfield player, and I do expect us to sign someone alongside Partey when Xhaka goes. So I do think Arsenal need to strengthen in those areas. And listen, if they got two midfield players, I don't know, just say for instance they got Basuma and Maddison, that makes Arsenal a different animal. But at this moment in time, you know, I'm not excited by the season because you know what's coming. You know, inconsistency, missing the chances, mistakes, a bit like our pre-season so far. Sorry to be doom and gloom, Kenny.
But,
Like, don't, look,
go on.
no, Ruby, go on, because you know.
I was going to ask him. He says Basuma and Maddison will make them a different kind of animal. That like I say, what about all the long plays? Are you not keeping the long plays or they gone? Are any of the long plays here?
I don't know what's going on. No one really listen when it comes to transfers and all that. No one really knows who Arsenal are going to go for. Like, you know, what I mean, I ain't got a clue. You know what I mean? They've been linked with so many. They've had more links in the chain. You know what I mean? Like, it's unreal. Like, you know, so we just have to wait and see. Do you know what? I don't know about you. I don't know about it's different with you, Chelsea boys, but for us Arsenal fans, I don't really take much attention to it. Just see what happens. I'm fed up.
Yeah.
And you know, for instance, if Chelsea are going to go for someone, they're going to go and get him. But with Arsenal, you just don't know, and that's the trouble, Ken, isn't it? Like you just don't know what's going to go on.
I have one more question for both of you. What's it? One more.
Right, yeah.
Would you lot take Tammy up front right now?
I'll let you first, mate. Because you first. I've got a bit to say on her. Quite.
No bias. Forget his Chelsea there.
I'm going to be really honest with you here. If you're talking 40 million plus, I think Arsenal need to strengthen in other areas before they go looking at someone like Tammy Abraham. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that he's a good player or a bad player, but for me, I don't think it's that necessary to spend that sort of money at this moment in time.
You know, I think talking about the Arsenal, I think what's happening is that because of the protests, especially the demonstrations against ESL. You know, I think a lot of Premiership chairmen, especially the chairman, who are really, really pushing for this, the ones who I think financially actually need the money in Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man United. Just in terms of I think all three owners are looking to flog the clubs. Liverpool looking to flog their club. Arsenal blatantly looking to flog the club. And I think by getting into ESL, this is a situation where they can make their money, make their profit, and do the Frank Boff. And I think with Arsenal, they've got an open goal here where they have to make these big signings because it's on two fronts. One, there's nowhere to hide for Arteta, mate. There's no snook. He's run out of snookers. He's going to need snookers. And I think if Arsenal do make big signings, then the expectations have to be high. There can't be the sort of excuse menu where basically people are saying, well, give him more time. You really can't give him time because, financially, we've lost a lot of money by firstly not being in the Champions League, not being in Europe, and plus if we're missing out on a lucrative tour last season and potentially through COVID. So it's all about money. Money is going to be the dictator on whether Arteta keeps his job or not because it results in the field will dictate, the money side. But in terms of Arsenal as well, in terms of the players we get, we need a whole spine. And the biggest elephant in the room as well has to be life after Lacazette and Aubameyang. And the sooner we tackle that, the better. Obviously, I agree with you, Lee. We do have key positions, but I do think that the time for evolution's probably left hand. I think we need to take a revolutionary period process and say, right, were we not strong? We clearly need a complete centre forward. We clearly need a right back. We've already, got Ben White in centre defence because it seems to me that Arteta wants to play, long passes and change, the way we attack, not just by playing tiki-taka football, but varying our attack. And I think with David Luiz, he plays that kind of long diagonal ball from defence and he's good on the ball. And I think he's probably got Ben White potentially to sort of think, right, we need to cover that position because, people may not agree, but David Luiz seemed to be our best defender. But in all intents and purposes, we have to wait, but we can't miss the open goal. The club can't miss the open goal. When you've got the chairman by the balls, get them to spend the money. That's the best way to keep people like me quiet, by spending money on good players.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. And I think Ben White as a signing, I think that's a very good signing. Obviously, young English centre back, very good ball playing defender, and it's like it's almost as if he's going to replace what David Luiz, the hole that he's going to leave behind. Because obviously David Luiz was known for that. He was very, in my opinion, he was actually one of the best ball playing defenders out there in his prime. But one position he did mention, and I wanted to ask you both about this, was the right back position. Hector Bellerin is actually been rumored to be moving to Inter Milan. He does seem to be a divisive character amongst your fan base. Now, I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles is the more solid option, especially defending wise. I've liked him every time he's played. Well, most time he's played. Do you think, can you see him being the replacement going forward long term, or do you see yourself signing another player in that position instead?
You going first on weekend?
No, you first, mate.
Listen, I think that I'll be very interested to see what happens with Maitland-Niles, because he done really well the season before last, and then got loaned out to West Brom. So it'd be interesting to see him there. I felt that he would be the future right back for the club. We got Cedric there. We've also got Chambers that's played there. Everybody seems to have played. We had about 4 right backs last season. Not good enough. I wouldn't mind if we went big, say in the midfield areas, and brought in two big midfield players. I wouldn't be that against Maitland-Niles filling in there for a season and seeing how it goes. I'll be honest, But ultimately, if we're not going to spend big on midfield players, we've got to have a solid back four. And if you look at it, Ben White, Tierney, and Gabriel, and plus another, that's a solid back four. With Young, it's going to be like going to improve. I can't understand our fan base and people overspent on Ben White. We've been asking Arsenal to do that for 10 years, overspend to get players. You have to do that to get players out of a club. You have to overspend. You have to make them yourself. So we've done that for the first time in I don't know how long, and it's still getting criticised. So I've got no problems with that. I honestly believe if Arsenal went in and bought another player to play alongside Partey, a top class creative midfield player, number 10, I think Arsenal could just get away with it this season with playing either a Chambers or a Maitland-Niles or even a Cedric in that right back position to just get us through. Get the money for Bellerin, get the money for Xhaka, get the money for Willett, get the money from Eddie up front, and that can fund other areas of what we desperately need.
Who would be your 2 midfielders then?
Well, I would go. Listen, in an ideal world, you'd like to have Jack Grealish. I think that would be a real big sign for us. But realistically, I think I'd go for a while if we can't get Maddison, and if we can't get Basuma, then Locatelli would be probably a good option. The trouble with Basuma, and I can see what people are saying, is if come January we're going to lose Basuma and Partey at the same time. So, and we've got some crucial games in January. So maybe they're looking at trying to get a European midfield player in. But we need creativity in that midfield. And more importantly, not just creativity, we need goals from midfield. We do not have a goal-scoring midfield player. We've not had one since Ramsey. And if you look at all teams in the championship and that won it over the years, you've got a goal-scoring midfield player that's going to contribute with 8 to 10 goals a season, and we haven't. I think we got 3 from midfield last season. That's just not enough. That's putting pressure on forwards. That's putting pressure on wide players to score our goals, and I think that's what we need to do.
See, I'm in total agreement, Lee, because I think me and Lee have been a podcast for a few years together, and one of the things we've always discussed is that I've always half joking, half serious. 15 goals from about 3 or 4 players, that gets you top 4. Maybe if you add another 5, that gets you challenging. I think that's the whole situation. is the goals from midfield. We just haven't really had that, and I think that is our bigger problem. I mean, it just shows you, in terms of like the players we've had. Obviously, he didn't join us when he was in his prime, but someone like a David Platt type, a Frank Lampard type, get goals from midfield. And I think, those sort of players they're just so hard to find. They're not prized for goal.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
But in terms of Arsenal, that is the biggest problem we've had, especially since we've lost Cesc Fabregas and to a certain extent Nasri. It wasn't their creativity that I liked. It was the fact that they contributed goal-wise as well to us. And since then, we just really haven't had anyone doing it. Sadly, if it probably wasn't for injuries, maybe Cafola would have done it. But since then, it really hasn't. And that was my... Obviously, Lee, we talked about it. That was always my biggest frustration. Mesut, I didn't care about his performances as such because I knew he had world-class ability, but the lack of goals really got.
Yeah, lack of goals. Yeah, I agree. The lack of goals from all those. You look at Granit Xhaka. It's done okay for gets criticised a lot, but ultimately he's not too bad. But he just doesn't score goals. Danny Ceballos, I don't think scored a league goal for us this season we played. And it goes on and on. As I said, we've mentioned Cazorla got a few. Ramsey done better than most.
So I forgot about him.
Yeah, but ultimately we haven't got that. And as you say, it's not like you want them to get into the 20s like Frank Lampard did or somebody like that, but which is exceptional, like Steven Gerrard, 14 to 15 goals a season. We're looking at 10. To get into 10, plus with whatever you've got, that'd be great. We haven't got that. We've not got a midfield player that's going to score goals. And, even Udegaard come in last season, done really well. 1 or 2, goals. Smith Rowe doesn't look like he's got that many goals in him from midfield. So it's something that we've got to look at. And it's great signing players like Ben White and things like that. But we all know what Arsenal need as fans. We all know what Arsenal need to try and make that step of challenging the top 4. And at this moment in time, the club have done nothing since January to do that. And the biggest worry for me as an Arsenal fan is that the transfer window, this is going to be it. This is going to be a great transfer window. At this moment in time, I still stand by it. We're 3-4 weeks into the transfer window, and Arsenal are weaker than what they was before the transfer window opened, i.e., no Odegaard, i.e., no Matt Ryan. So we've not got a top-class backup goalkeeper. We've got Ceballos in there that could come in and do a job. So ultimately, we are weaker than what we was at the beginning of the transfer window. We're 4 weeks into it, and people are turning around and saying it's been a good transfer window. Well, in my eyes, it's not, because
you're right.
It's still weak.
Well, I think the thing is that I think every club, especially clubs like Arsenal, when you have loan players, potentially, especially when it comes to the close season, they're going to go back to their clubs. And I think that's the situation, is that we've got into this habit of the loan system. And it says a lot about the fact that probably, it's affected by the fact that we've lose. Let's face it, since we haven't been in the top 4, or dare I say it, UCL, I can calculate, and this is just like no exaggeration, I think we've lost about £300 million. You think about it, 300 million quid. So if we lost 300 million quid, and we're talking about monies for TV monies, points for actually being in there. So for instance, you get at the group stage, you get points, you get money for getting in the group stages, and you get money from getting into the last 16, which was our seeding anyway. So all of that plus the TV rights, that does come up about 300 million quid. So what's happened is then what Arsenal are going to be doing is penny pinching, and that's what they've been doing for the last time. But because of ESL, they can't now, because we've got them where we've got them by the balls. Because everyone's all the chairmen, especially the Arsenal ones, oh yeah, we're really sorry, we're going to try and communicate with fans. Let's face it, Lee, we don't want to talk to you. We just want you to get out, buy the right players, spend big, like 100%. Big club spends, and then the results. We don't want to hear from you. We don't even want to see you. The only time we want to see you is at every transfer window when you've got your checkbook out. Apart from that, the best chairman for me and the best owners are people we never hear of. They're the best ones, just like best referees.
I totally agree with you there, Ken. And the thing is, realistically, from an Arsenal point of view, if we want to go and buy Jack Grealish, go and buy, we can buy. Arsenal could buy anybody they want because the Kroenkes are one of the richest people in the world. He's as rich as Abramovich. He's rich, the most guys. But you look at Abramovich; he's prepared to put his money where his mouth is and make sure that Chelsea are where they're going to be. Chelsea, I think, if they're going to challenge for the title next season, need a proper striker. So who are Chelsea linked with? There you go, because that's what the club are actually saying. Right, well, no one, Chelsea fans, neutrals, know what Chelsea need. So straight away, Abramovich is trying to do that, and that's the difference between Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City, mate. You've got owners that are prepared to spend the money because they want success, and that, to me, we've gone into a transfer window where we're 8th in the league, dropping down the league, if I'll be honest, and we haven't challenged for the title for I don't know how long. We haven't challenged top 4 for I don't know how long now, and still the club are not jumping at the bit to bring in the players that's required. I guarantee you this now: if Chelsea were in 8th position and they were down there a few seasons ago, I remember they would have come back bosh with some big signings. I remember when Chelsea weren't in Europe and they said, and Chelsea went and won the league the next season. Yeah, they would have won the league if they didn't spend the money to get those players in the first place, and that's the difference. I see. Manchester City title holders, winning the Premier League, runners up in the Champions League, linked with Jack Grealish and Harry Kane. Why are Arsenal not linked with these players? Why are Arsenal not linked with them?
Sorry to cut you, mate, but I think what's happened is that the problem with Arsenal fans is that we as fans rely too much on managers, players, and chairman to set our standards. When it's our club, we've got to be more demanding of our chairman. We've got to be more demanding of our players, demanding of our manager. We're the ones who set the standards, because it's no good saying the fans stopped ESL, that the fans put vote with their feet. If Arsenal fans are not going to put pressure on the manager, not put pressure on the players and the owners, and say, look, hang on here. We're a big club, and this is what we want. These are the standards. The only way is gold, not silver, not bronze. Is gold. This is the standards, and we demand success. All right, we have to turn a deaf ear to fans going, "Oh, you lot are spoilt when title." I'm sorry, you should be Arsenal fans if that's your standards. If you want to think like that, go away. We don't need you here. All right, because I'll tell you one thing, right? Just because you was satisfied. We've seen the club do the double a few times, and you think that's your life's over. I'm sorry, there's fans who want to be like Chelsea and feel it's their right to win things. So what we've done in '71, we rested on our laurels and celebrated winning the double in colour. We're doing the same thing in 2004, celebrating being the Invincibles. So when a team wins the league, others than Arsenal, we're in competition with them, not because we're a point behind them. It's because our trophy's gold, and theirs is not. Come on, we're better than that. We need to be as fans, demand more and demand success, and put some pressure on these guys, because it's our club, not theirs. They're just businessmen who like, obviously they own the naming rights, but it's our club. And until fans at Arsenal set the standards, then we're always going to be having conversations like this next year, the year afterwards. We've got to do more as fans, and I don't mean causing anarchy and throwing petrol bombs at the owner, but change their stance in what we really want and admit that we deserve to be in Chelsea's position. We shouldn't be watching them, spitting their feathers and having debates. Why are we having a debate where we're the biggest London club? Bigger than us. That shouldn't be a debate. If we'd be more proactive with our standards, we wouldn't have this debate, because we'd be successful then if we put more pressure on the people who actually are there to serve us, not the other way around. They're our servants. Kroenke serves me. Arteta works for me, and the players work for me, and that's got to be our attitude.
And I think as rivalries aside, I think that's something that we can all agree on. And it's important that we all realize that as fans, regardless of what teams we support. Because I think as a collective, as fans, we also have to have that collective mentality and understand, because we saw what happened with the ESL, how close it got to being wrecked. And it really was down to the fans' whole coming together and just not accepting it, which put the pressure on them. But Rome's, I know you want to fire off some questions, so I'm going to let you do your thing, my bro.
Boy, I missed a lot, man. My phone kept on ringing, so I missed a lot, man. Boy, Arsenal, man. I don't know what to ask.
Biggest team in London, Kenny said.
They're not the biggest team in London. Who said that?
No, what I'm trying to say, we shouldn't be having debate.
Oh, you should have.
No, we shouldn't have debate, because if we've met the standards that we should be having, we shouldn't have this debate with you. We'll be the biggest club, but I've got no collateral. For instance, if I'm trying to run a business and they ask me for collateral security, I ain't got no collateral security. I ain't got a Champions League. I ain't got a league title. I haven't got a top 4 to sell, and that makes me, anxious and upset.
I've got some questions. I've got some questions actually. Is Arteta? Do you think Arteta is the right man?
That's Lee's, mate.
No, I don't think he's the right man. I listen, and I'll tell you why I don't think he's the right man, because just take the Euros. Look at the final between Mancini and Southgate. Mancini, experienced manager, knows what he's doing, got every decision right. You know what I mean? Changed it, and there was nothing between the two teams, in my opinion. But what tipped it Italy's way was the way he done the substitutions and managed the team. In fact, I think England was probably a better team. Yes. So, and I just think that we've and you can look at Chelsea as well. You know, with Frank Lampard as much as the legend that he was, I don't think that he's not good enough or whatever. I just don't think he's experienced enough, and I think that's the same with Arteta. I don't think that there's no way someone like Mikel Arteta should be managing Arsenal Football Club. Now, how that's happened, I do not know that someone with inexperience has come in. I get it why Chelsea were in that position, because they didn't have the transfer embargo. So they probably felt that was a way for them to go. But ultimately, they bring in the new manager and look at the difference. And I think that's not because Frank Lampard's failed. I really don't. I just think that's down to experience, how to deal with things and situations. And I just think that the situations that Mikel Arteta is having to deal with at this moment, he's not handling them particularly well. I.e., as we just spoke about Guendouzi, what's gone on there. The Martinelli situation worries me. Because I think that he's a talented player and is not getting as much game time as he should, and the continuation to persevere with players like Bellerin, Xhaka, if you want to go down that route, etc. But he's not prepared to give Saliba a chance or a Guendouzi or whatever. So there are problems. And results. I don't believe that if Chelsea come 8th in the league, that their manager would survive the following season. I believe that if Solskjaer finishes 8th next season with Manchester United, I put my house mortgage on it that he won't be manager of Manchester United the following season. You can look at Tottenham. Tottenham failed. They was hoping for a top 4 finish at the end of this season. Didn't get it. Mourinho gone. Whether it's the right decision or not, that's the attitude that they've took. Haven't fulfilled their ambitions. Gone. Mikel Arteta's got 8th in the league, and at this moment in time, he'll get 8th again this season, because he's not going to turn this team around and these players into a championship winning side. And you look at somebody like Frank Lampard, same players. Realistically, that were failing, if you be honest, were failing at Chelsea. All of a sudden, new manager comes in, a bit of experience, tinkers with 1 or 2 players. That's all it was. And all of a sudden, Chelsea are challenging. And you feel now that Chelsea can challenge for the title this season, where you wouldn't have thought that they was going to last season. and that's just down to the manager. So the manager is important. It's not the be and end all, but you've got to have good players to start off with. But if you haven't got those players, you need something else. You need the X factor, and unfortunately, we haven't got that. You know, I look at Tottenham. Tottenham are no better off without Pochettino than when they had him. The reason that they probably did well was because they overachieved with a very, very good manager. Now they're finding that it's not easy. And I think even with Arsenal fans, we're finding it, you know, a little bit difficult to swallow how quickly and how ungracefully that we've fallen. You know, Arsene Wenger got pillared for not getting top 4. Now we can't even get in the top 8. So there's a big decline at Arsenal, and I feel that the manager is, you know, accountable for that. But ultimately, you know, this season, I don't blame the Cronkies if Arsenal don't get the players that they want, because I've got my manager telling me that he's going to be fully backed this season by the owners. So if he's going to be fully backed, I expect when he goes out on the first game of the season to have everything that he's asked in plan, because he's been fully backed. And if he isn't, that's down to Mikel Arteta in my book.
One more question before I put this to an end, because I know it's getting late for you guys. It's 11:30 over there. We're speaking about X Factor and managers. I'll start with you, Ken. Southgate, has he got that X Factor to take us forward in the World Cup and perhaps win it? Or you don't think so?
Well, the thing about it, right, is that the only way is up, innit? He's now set standards now. Like in the if you count the League of Nations, a major tournament, he's finished 4th, 3rd, and he's now finished 2nd. And so basically, what's happened right now is that he's got a conveyor belt of players coming through. If you look at the players, I think we're in a situation where we are with France, where basically it's not a case of who's getting in the squad and who can't get in. And I think that's a healthy situation for the national side. However, his mentality in big games, as Lee mentioned, was just reminds me of what happened. League of Nations semi-final against Holland, paid Holland too much respect. Didn't have that midfielder who can actually control possession. What happened? Holland beat us in the semi-final of League of Nations. Let's go back to Moscow the year before. Modric, where is our Modric? England went, Croatia equalised, didn't have the tactics. And then we had the same situation where after we scored, in the 2nd minute, from the 3rd minute onwards, it was basically Italy's game. So again, it's his mentality, too defensive. Why is he defensive? Because he knows that England do not have a ball playing midfielder who can actually, you know, keep things going on and dictate the possession. Modric, Kroos, you know, and Fernandes and Portugal. You also got you know, play all these kind of players. England don't have them. In terms of Italy, you know, they didn't really have that sort of player, but they knew that what they did is they got Insigne to sort of come out the front 2 and be that spare man, number 8. So that's where Kroos got gone wrong. He has to get on the front foot. He has to take a risk.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because if he plays these negative tactics and he just justifies that by saying, "Oh yeah, well we're not as good defensively as people make out, and we need to give our teams protection." I'm sorry, you surrender 60% possession to the opposition. Forget it. You're going to lose. England will get to the final probably in Qatar, but they'll lose the final if Southgate doesn't let them off the leash. It's Southgate that cost us a game last week. Let's face it. Sorry.
No, I agree with you. Lee, what are your thoughts on Gareth Southgate? Right man for the job?
Listen, I think it's a difficult one to say, right, you know, sack a manager after it's just led you to a final. So it's a very, very difficult situation. But ultimately, we've got an era. We're in an era now with players that we've got a very, very good chance of winning things. And I'm not just saying that I think we're the best of a bad bunch. If I'll be realistically honest, you know, I look at Belgium just starting to wane a little bit after the good sort of start. France definitely got the players there, but their manager's holding them back a little bit, if I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I look at Denmark, very, very good team. Haven't got a centre forward. I look at Italy, if I'll be honest. If Italy had a Harry Kane, they'd be over the hills and far away. Haven't got a top-class centre forward. You look at Germany, they're in the same position, got some good players, not got a top class centre forward. England have got 2 or 3. England have got like some real good front runners. So the opportunity of it, I think, if we are going to be ruthless, would be to get in a manager like Mancini that could make things happen. But ultimately, England are not going to do that, and I think that we could actually end up being a little bit like Belgium with all these players and not having the right and just missing out on it, and we shouldn't really, like, you know. Let's face it. For 20 minutes of that game against Italy, we was all over them, and we didn't go for it, and we then went negative and negative. So, would you imagine if we'd have gone positive, and may have gone and won that game? And the fact of the matter is that what worries me about Gareth Southgate is that we had the same mistakes happened in the World Cup, and it cost us, and the same mistakes now in the Euros has cost us. So for me, you know, I would like to see a better manager with a lot more experience come in. And I'll be honest with you guys, if Chelsea, Arsenal, and I can say this to Tottenham fans, haven't got a manager, and all of us were, and we was linked with Gareth Southgate, not one of us was.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. I was about to finish up by asking Roma his opinion, but he's disappeared again. His phone is very busy. But yeah, guys, listen, thank you very much for joining me, Kenny Ken. Lee, thanks so much for joining in.
No, been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Good to see you again. Arteta
out. So guys, listen, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Rome's is back. Rome's, you there? Yo, Rome's, unmute yourself, bro.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, because we thought you bounced. I was about to do the outro, but real quick, your thoughts on Southgate. Right man for the job or not? Right man for the job or not, Southgate? Yeah.
Impossible. He's not the man for the job. Of course not, man.
He won't take us over the line.
Boy, what line? What are you talking about?
Actually winning trophies, bro.
He's had 2 opportunities. He's got 2 opportunities. He's bottled them both.
Would you prefer to see someone else take us into the World Cup?
100%.
I'm with it. I'm with Roman there. I think that as well.
You see, I agree with that, but there's no
way. Frank Lampard.
I want Wenger.
Yeah, good shout. Wenger would be a good shout.
I don't think he'd take that job.
No, I don't think he will. But I think it's a good shout because he's got an attacking philosophy, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Why would he take that job? He's been in the country. How long did he spend in the UK, London? Like 20 years or something?
It's true. I mean, but anyway, see. I can't speak for him. You know what I'm saying?
Frank Lampard Jr. I don't know what it is, right? But I feel with the way I felt, when he was at Chelsea, there's certain things as an Arsenal fan I loved him doing, but as a Chelsea fan, I would have been annoyed with him because I think defensively he got it wrong with you guys. But in terms of England, one thing I did like was the attack. He is an attacking manager. I don't know whether if Southgate, contract doesn't get extended after 2022, maybe have a look at him. Stevie G, younger managers, because let's face it, the way the Premiership's going, and I don't want to put a British manager off, but as long as we've got the top 6 clubs owned by foreign owners, then a British manager's not getting one of those gigs. Not a chance. Lampard got the gig on default because of the transfer embargo, but they're going to want someone massive with a massive name around the world. It's preferably Western Europe.
League winners.
That's and a British manager just won't get one of those gigs. It's not going to happen. Maybe Gerrard.
All right, one more question before you go. Who do you think the next British manager to win a major trophy will be? I'm going to go with Brendan Rodgers.
Well,
outside of the FA Cup. Outside of the FA Cup, like the League, Champions League or Europa or something like that.
I would love Brendan Rodgers at Arsenal. I would love him at Arsenal.
What are you saying, Ken? You think he's first?
Well, yes, definitely, because simple reason is that he's got the experience of getting a championship, a championship race in 2004, even though Arsenal helped them along a bit, because we were basically leading the table up until February. But he has got that experience, and he does play the football, the good football. And you think about it, at Leicester, he hasn't got a big budget like Arsenal, but he's managed to amass a team that that plays good football. But all of the players are actually fit. There's no square pegs running around holes. But he just won't get a chance though. I can't see him getting a chance at a big top 6 club. I can't.
I think Steven Gerrard might be the next one because I think he'll be Liverpool manager in the next 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.